A game that has likely been circled on Chiefs fans' calendars since the schedule was released. It is Bills week. This go-around, Kansas City hits the road to face Josh Allen and company, a team with a chip on their shoulder. The top two teams in the AFC go at it on Sunday. We also have some breaking news. 2 players designated to return from the IR. We talk Week 11 now. What is up, Chiefs Kingdom? Happy Tuesday. I'm Hayley Lewis, and this is Chiefs News Daily. Can the undefeated champs stay perfect on the season with arguably their toughest test ahead? We shall find out. The 9-0 back-to-back Super Bowl champs pack their bags for Buffalo this week. And we also have some breaking news this morning. 2 players designated to return from the IR. We preview it all, but first, like and subscribe right here on the KCSN YouTube channel, and let's get into this. All right, guys, we got breaking news coming off the top. Jordan Schultz with Bleacher Report telling us that running back Isiah Pacheco, as well as defensive lineman Charles Omenihu, are designated to return from the injured reserve. Now, we got an update from head coach Andy Reid just yesterday. Let's roll that clip now.
Yeah, no, I think they're all close. I would probably tell you Juju closer than the other 2, but I would tell you that, we might have them out there. We'll just see how it goes here today and tomorrow. They're very close, all 3 of them.
So it looks like sooner rather than later on their returns. We will continue to keep you updated as we learn more and check in with the team tomorrow. All right, on Tuesdays with a normal Sunday game ahead, the Chiefs are dark, meaning there's no media availability. So tomorrow, they'll be back at the podium. We'll check in with head coach Andy Reid, quarterback Patrick Mahomes, and some select players to be announced on Wednesday. Until then, we're going to check in with Buffalo. The Chiefs will hit the road for Orchard Park in New York this coming weekend. The last time Kansas City played on the road at Buffalo was that divisional game during last year's playoffs. So January of this year, let's flash forward almost 10 months later, Patrick Mahomes and Josh Allen are going to meet again. Now, a Bills-led offense by Allen has never been a Mahomes-led team in the playoffs, but Buffalo has won the last 3 regular season meetings between the 2 teams, with the last 2 being decided by 4 points or less. So with that, we're going to bring in my buddy Dan Fetes, a sports anchor/reporter at 13 WHAM and a content creator for the Buffalo Plus. Dan, we meet again. And I feel like every time it's Bills and Chiefs week, I text you a ... we meet again. And it's, it's always fun because it's fun that the media gets to become friends because we see each other so many times during the seasons. And this has been one of those kind of newfound rivalries ever since Allen and Mahomes have been going back and forth at it. Obviously in the playoffs last season, sorry about that one, Kansas City definitely getting the better of
the season before and the season before.
Yeah. The playoffs are not good for Josh Allen. However, during the regular season, the last 3 regular season games, the Bills have beaten the Chiefs. So what does this week look like from Buffalo's perspective?
Well, they just came off a somewhat impressive win in Indy, and we asked them after the game, like, how are you able to stay focused? It's a 1:00 boring game in Indy and all these things, knowing you just came off a big win against Miami and you had the Chiefs on deck. And they said all the right things, right? Oh, it's, we take it 1 week at a time. They know what's ahead. And we were even asking players in the locker room, and they were like, well, yeah, not really gonna say much. And it's like, yeah, I get it. Like, it's just after a fresh win, but everybody knows that this game's kind of been circled for a while. You're right. I thought Josh was undefeated. I forgot the 2020 game in Buffalo where Mahomes ran all over the Bills in that game. So Josh is 3-1 against Mahomes in the regular season, but the only 3 that really matter are the losses in the postseason.
Yeah, it's definitely, it's good football to watch, I will say, from the outside looking in. It's always a fun game. For fans, it's always something that they look forward to because watching 2 of the great, quarterbacks in this league right now, and then the 2 best teams in the AFC go at it this season, but they're playing such different ball. So when you look at what the Chiefs offense is doing, they've had some sparks, right? They've had some moments. I think one of the biggest advantages for Kansas City is that they find ways to win. So when the offense comes out and they can't quite perform, you have the defense that is able to cover them, or special teams like we saw this last week against the Broncos. What would you say the Bills' perspective, and I know you haven't really necessarily been able to talk with the team quite yet, of the Kansas City Chiefs and how things are looking this season compared to years before where it was all Mahomes magic? Now it's just gut it out, find a way to win.
Yeah, it's still going to be Mahomes and Kelsey, and there'll still be questions of how do you stop Kelsey, and it's still, and like I said, even though Mahomes' numbers are down, he's still Patrick freaking Mahomes. So like the Bills understand the magic that he can be. It's funny because you talk about that. I'm more impressed every single week looking at this Chiefs defense, and I think that's going to be the biggest test. And you talk offensively, I've been saying on the Buffalo Plus podcast last few weeks, the Bills, the way they've been winning at 8-2 has been Chiefsy. And I've been saying is that like it hasn't been perfect, but the Chiefs have over the years, even when they haven't been good, you're like, or haven't looked elite, you're like, they're still the Chiefs. And so the Bills have always had to be like playing their A+ game to win. And even with injured wide receivers, we don't know Amari Cooper's status. Keon Coleman's already been ruled out. Dalton Kincaid is banged up. They have found ways to win games, whether it's been a pick six last week in Indy or defensive stops. Like, it's been Chiefsy, which before that, the Chiefsy was a Patriots way to get wins. And so you kind of look at it and go, I kind of see a lot of similarities with this Bills team as I do with this Chiefs team, struggling at times, but how critical can you be when the Chiefs are undefeated and the Bills are 8-2?
Yeah, you mentioned some of those injuries. The Chiefs have obviously had their fair share of injuries. The Bills as well. You mentioned the players who have already been ruled out, on a Monday press conference. When they get ruled out on Monday, it's just like, man, you didn't even let us play with the storyline for the whole week. We had nothing to talk about, the hopefulness of them returning. Talk through some of those injuries or key injuries for the Bills right now. Obviously, I just shared it with you before we got on here, but finding out that running back Isiah Pacheco, as well as defensive lineman Charles Omenihu, or defensive end Charles Omenihu, are designated to return. That's not official quite yet, but you guys have your fair share of injuries as well. A little banged up for Buffalo right now.
Yeah, Pacheco's kind of like Matt Milano. He tore his pec in preseason practice during training camp, so he's been out. He's been designated to return. It's not going to be anytime soon. The Bills have their bye next week, so this is just kind of opening up his window. He's not going to play. Keon Coleman's the Bills' rookie wide receiver, who they took after they traded with you guys to get Xavier Worthy, which will be an interesting dynamic as we head into this week. But Keon really kind of came on late. We talked a lot about he's a guy that made a lot of headlines for talking about Wegmans chocolate chip cookies and buying coats at Macy's during the summer. Like, it was all that personality. He kind of started to have this confidence over the last few weeks. He had a 100-yard game against Seattle and was starting to come on. And then he gets a big hit against him by his former Buffalo Bill, Jordan Poyer, in the Miami game. So he's been out. He's kind of been that bigger wide receiver they've needed on the outside. And then they trade for Amari Cooper, catches a touchdown in his first game. But in the first series of the second game, he injures his wrist. He's been playing with a massive, practicing with this big cast on. And he says it's not about grip strength, but it's about the way that he has to catch the ball differently. So they were without their two wide receivers when they went into Indy, but that's the Colts and not a huge deal. Dalton Kincaid is another one of their top pass targets. He injured his knee in the that Colts game, tried to come back, but couldn't. They think it's maybe just like a knee bruise, but they don't know about, are you going to push it again with the bye coming up? So they're down probably their top 3 pass catchers. So it has been this everybody eats philosophy for this wide receiver room that is trying to find their identity. A guy like Mac Hollins had 80 yards last week against the Colts and kind of has stepped up. He's been a special teams role-playing veteran most of his career, and he's catching big passes in a game against the Colts. So it has kind of been trying to figure it out. The one guy that is healthy and it's a difference maker is Khalil Shakir. 5th-round pick out of Boise, has come on at the end of last year. He's caught 98% of the throws that Josh has thrown at him. 45 targets. He's got 42 catches, next level stuff. But again, it has been, Josh, go make something happen. Yeah. And for the most part, he's done it.
I love watching these games, not only just because of the two quarterbacks and the competitiveness that they bring in, but I also like the fan bases. I feel like the Chiefs and the Bills actually secretly get along. The fan bases secretly a little bit, because, if the Raiders come in here, and I'll speak on behalf of Chiefs Kingdom, no, it's not happening. The Bengals, absolutely not. But the Bills are kind of fun. You guys are jumping on tables and, all that stuff that you guys do. It's fun when these two fan bases get together. We know that in Chiefs Kingdom, it's all about the tailgating, the barbecue. I actually haven't been to Orchard Park before. What is the game day environment like for maybe Chiefs fans who are going to be visiting?
So it's unlike Kansas City in the sense of big, massive parking lot at Kansas City, and everybody has their own tailgates, right? Like buses and all that stuff. Orchard Park is literally in a neighborhood. Like, you'll drive by streets with houses, and then all of a sudden there's an NFL stadium in it. So there's different kind of sections of it. There's, you know, this lot and that lot, and everybody kind of has their own thing. But it is not college-like feel, because we don't really have that in New York, but that's the closest thing where you're having tailgate. It's the craziness. And I think Bills fans get a little bit of a bad rap for the breaking of tables. Like they are a
genuine... I like it. Do it.
Right. But I think they also we're not just those
guys.
Yeah, we are a moderate fan base that also just is diehard about their teams, which I think is why Chiefs and Bills fans respect themselves, because there's never a Sunday game where you're like, oh, this place doesn't have the vibe to it. That place is going to be electric. It's an older stadium, again, built in a neighborhood where like it has a Green Bay-ish feel, where it's like, I can't believe there's a stadium here, but it's a different, unique atmosphere, definitely, for sure.
All right, it's going to be exciting. This one on CBS nationally now, so the Flex, it's going to be everywhere, so you can watch this one go down. The NFL gods did it right with the scheduling for the top two teams in the AFC to be facing off. Dan, always appreciate your expertise. We'll have to see how things go down. I know we'll probably be talking later on this week, but an exciting one coming up on Sunday.
Thanks for having me, Hayley.
Alrighty, folks, that does it for another episode of Chiefs News Daily. As always, we'll be back again tomorrow. In the meantime, like and subscribe right here on the KCSN YouTube channel. Have a great rest of your Tuesday, and we'll see you on Wednesday.